what you're not gonna do is buy products on impulse. I'm very guilty of doing this. I do buy things on impulse, or buy too much products and then realizing that you don't like it or need it, or you change your mind on that item and now you have over 100 of those same items that you don't necessarily want to use or care to use, and then you just have it there hoping that you have not bought it. Yeah, totally guilty of that. But hola mi gente bella y bienvenidos a mi canal. My name is Sandra if this is your first time here, and welcome to my channel. In this channel you'll be learning and I'll be speaking about everything high-end or luxury candle making business tips. So in today's video we're going to be discussing candle making beginner's guide, and I'm going to give you a little tips to guide you in your road to success in your candle making business. So I have 10 tips plus 2 additional tips that I will help you in your luxury or high-end candle making journey. So tip numero uno, what you not gonna do is not have a target audience. And I know I've been preaching this for many videos, and you will see this in all my videos, and it is so important to have an actual target audience so that you will know exactly who you are targeting and who you are selling your products to. We are not celebrities, and if you are, kudos to you, but I know I am not, and I cannot just put my face to an actual brand and just start selling all my products right out the bat. Can't do that, so therefore I need to have an actual target audience to be able to target them, to speak to them, to target them, and so that they could buy candles based on their needs. Okay, so numero dos, what you not gonna do is not test enough or test too many variables at the exact same time. For example, testing your wax, testing your wicks, testing your fragrance, testing your embeds, testing colors, testing everything, including the vessels, all the exact same time, while you are just doing the candles for the very first time because you see other people who already have an established business that already have those types of candles. Don't do that. It is not going to work. You're going to have a lot of issues, and you are not going to know which of those variables did not work for you. So make sure that you're testing one variable at a time, and I always suggest to first test out your wicks with your vessels to make sure that the wick and the vessels work together, then move on to your fragrance, then move on to your colors, and to move on to anything else that you want to add to your candles. And the best way to do this is to test multiple wicks at the same time. It is easier to do this because you'll be comparing and contrasting what is going on with the first, second, and third wick testing when you're doing it at the same time. If you're just testing one wick at one time, then you'll not have anything to compare it to, and then you'll believe that whatever you have at that particular time is actually working when it really is not. So I will come up with a video and showing you how I test my candle wicks in a few weeks from now. I'm trying to put that together. I did have a few clips, but one of my candle vessels broke. Somebody dropped it while they were cleaning. So I will have to do that one over, and then I will make sure that I do that video for you guys so you guys can see exactly how I test my wicks when I am testing wicks for a brand new vessel. So now we move on to tip numero tres, or tres, right? Then that will be what you not gonna do is not let your candle waxes cure. And this is especially true if you have soy or coconut or palm wax or any other vegetable waxes, which is your natural waxes, you need to have some type of cure time, because if you don't have the cure time, then you don't actually you won't know if your fragrance binds well with your wick, binds well with your wax. So it needs some type of cure time. And the best time to let your candles cure will be from 1 to 2 weeks, especially if you have those waxes that I already mentioned, which are the natural waxes. If you are using paraffin wax or IGI 6006, then the cure time is not as long as if you're using natural waxes. So a few days for paraffin is okay, but weeks will be best for soy, coconut, or palm wax or any other vegetable wax. The fourth, what you're not gonna do is buy products on impulse. I'm very guilty of doing this. I do buy things on impulse, or buy too much products and then realizing that you don't like it or need it, or you change your mind on that item and now you have over 100 of those same items that you don't necessarily want to use or care to use, and then you just have it there hoping that you have not bought it. Yeah, totally guilty of that. But don't do that, because then you're gonna end up with things that you don't really need, and then you're gonna end up with things that you can't sell, or maybe you could sell but you don't want to sell it because it doesn't go with the aesthetics or the flow or the branding that you're trying to go for. So make sure before you buy anything, you do your actual research. Make sure this is exactly what you want. Make sure that this is exactly what your market wants, and make sure that this is exactly what you want to sell to your market, because otherwise you're going to be left with a whole bunch of stuff that you don't really want. So trust me on that. I know, because I've done this, and so far I'm getting good at it, but I need to work on it. But yes, please don't do that. So my fifth, what you're not gonna do is buy products based on someone else's success and then wonder why it isn't working for you, especially if you guys don't have the exact same target audience. So if you are over here selling bakery types of candles or fruity types of candles, and then because the spiritual types of candles is working for Sally the maker on the other side over here, and she's bragging about it that she's making a lot of sales, and then you're like, oh shoot, let me hop on what Sally over here is doing and sell spiritual candles too. So you add those spiritual candles to your candle line, and guess what? You're not selling anything, and then you're thinking that Sally over here was lying. I mean, maybe she was lying, but 9 times out of 10, what would she brag about making sales when she's not really making sales? So you can't expect to get the same sales as the next candle maker, because your audiences or customers are definitely not the same. And neither is your marketing, and you don't really know what marketing tactics was Sally doing in the first place. So don't copy someone else's success and make it as if because it worked for them it's going to work for you, because not necessarily true. It might work, but 9 times out of 10 it might not. So do your due diligence, do your research, have a target audience so that you will be able to sell to that target audience. Okay, so I think most of these tips will go back to target audiences. So let's move on to number 6. What you not gonna do is have too many offers or running too many sales, because that is not a proven way to actually sell your products. Having too many sales will overwhelm people, and it might tell people that this business, there's something wrong with it, or they're going out of business, or why are they having so many sales every single day. So don't do that. Make sure that when you are running any type of sales, it's strategically placed sales so that you could move inventory and not because you want to make that sale, if that makes any sense. Number 7, what you not gonna do is decrease your prices way too low because you're not having sales, or increasing your prices to make up for not having any sales. Do your research on your market for the types of candles that you sell and see what's the median price range and price your candles accordingly. You don't want to be that person that increases and decreases every single time, because then you don't really know what your candles are worth. Don't do that. Do your research. Look at other candle makers, see whatever they're pricing it, price your candles according to your size, according to how much inventory, how much money you put into the inventory, and see if that works for you. And market. Number 8, what you not gonna do is introduce new scents too frequently or have too many scents overwhelming your customers. Like, you don't need to purchase every new scent that Candle Science or Aztec Candles or Brambleberry or Wooden Wick Co. or Nature's Garden or any other candle suppliers that have their new scents coming out. You don't have to purchase all those scents and make it into a candle and try to sell it, because then you're going to overwhelm your customers. You're going to have a long list of scents that you're probably not, doesn't even go with your brand, and you're probably not going to be able to sell because you have just way too much. Just make sure that you have a signature scent, and that is the scent that you are going with in your line. Or you could have more than one signature scent. You could have a few scents that you are always going to introduce, or you're always going to market to your audience, because those are the scents that are in your branding and goes with your theme, and those are the scents that you put in there. And then you introduce other scents based on either seasons or holidays or special occasions, but make sure that you have a signature scent in your line to begin with, so that your customers know exactly what you're selling, so that you won't be in the midst of selling every single fragrance out there because you don't really know what your audience really want. Okay, if you're done or are currently doing any of these mistakes, let me know in the comments down below how you fixed it, or let me know if these mistakes have evolved into a win for you, because it can, it can evolve into something good. And if not, then it's time to make a change. So now we're moving on to tip numero, tip numero 9. What you're not going to do is have a generic website that's too polished or too white or too clunky or filled with too many stock images, or your menu options are unclear, or it's hard to read, or it's hard to navigate through your website, or what you're selling is not clear, or your message and your website is not cohesive and it doesn't have a signature look. I know this was a lot, but hear me out on this one. Watch my video, my 13 website mistakes video, for a more detailed explanation on how to fix those issues. So if you are doing all those mistakes, then your website is probably not converting into any sales. And if you are selling some things, it's not what you were expecting, and it's probably from family and friends and a few people here and there that they told you. But watch my video, you will get a few solutions to those issues. And then so you won't price your items way too low to make that sales, and then you go back to mistake number 6 and mistake number 7, then you start this whole cycle all over again. So make sure that you know the issues before you try to fix those issues, because sometimes it's not that you're pricing it too high or too low, it's other things that you need to set in place. And it always goes back to knowing your target audience. So make sure that you know your target audience so you won't have those mistakes. So this moves on to tip numero 10. Gosh, I can't count today. What you not gonna do is Have your product descriptions with misspelled words. Your product pics or descriptions are not telling a story. It's not descriptive or is based on facts rather than the customer's perceived ones. What you should be doing instead is to position your product description in such a way that it will solve the customer's problem, even though they don't really know they need it. Make sure that you are posing a problem and then solving it for them, and that will give you some sort of leg up in your descriptions. Check out my video on description that sells for a breakdown of strategies that you can implement for your description writing for your products. So this moves on to my bonus tip number 11. What you not gonna do is use the same type of wax for the items that you have. For example, you're using pillar waxes for containers or vice versa, or you're using container waxes for tarts and vice versa. Yeah, don't do that, because they are made specifically for that type of wax. For example, if you're using pillar wax, use it for pillars. If you're using container wax, use it for vessels. If you're using tarts, use it for tarts, because not all of the waxes that are in the market could be used for all those different types of containers or molds. So make sure that you know exactly what wax you're using for the particular product that you are using that wax for. I also noticed that smaller vessels have a better scent throw with paraffin waxes. So if you do have a lighter fragrance oil and want to sell sample vessels, or not sample vessels, but sample candles, and you don't mind selling paraffin, then use the paraffin wax with your smaller containers. But just make sure that you advise your customers, depending on the flow and feel of your business, that you are using paraffin wax for your smaller containers. Or just make sure that you sell strong scents on its own before they are candles. You could check out my how to make strong scented candle videos for 5 tips on how to accomplish a stronger smelling candle. And this brings me down to my last bonus tip, which is tip numero 12. What you not gonna do is think that all fragrance loads are the same for all waxes. And this is also a tip I mentioned in my how to make stronger smelling candles, where you can get a free PDF template list on the most popular melting points and fragrance load for those waxes. So if you have enjoyed these tips today, make sure that you hit the like button, hit the notification bell, and also make sure that you subscribe to my channel for more helpful tips and videos on candle making. So, hasta la próxima. Bye, mi gente bella.